to the MaD Bro Radio podcast. I'm your host, Robert Davis. My co-host is Matthew Flowers. We'd like to thank all of you for giving us a listen here. As always, check us out on MaDBroRadio.com. If you like what we're doing, there's a spot there for you to donate if you'd like to help out. Every dollar helps. Every dollar is appreciated. Today, we have very special guest, friend of the show, one of our favorite people out there in the ethereal place that we call the internet. One of our favorite people. He's a stand-up comedian, and internet pariah. It is Sam Zayvan. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah,
man. So you do stand-up comedy. Can you tell us, like, what got you started? Like, did you, like, grow up idolizing Roseanne Barr and just had to be like her? Or, like, was it just something that just sort of happened?
No, I actually loved Ellen DeGeneres when I was
Ellen?
Young. That was, like, one of my favorite comics, and I'm not even ashamed to say that. But, no, I've always loved stand-up. Like, growing up, I watched a lot of stand-up. I would go to a lot of shows. All my friends loved stand-up. And I started doing stand-up in law school because I was just tired of hanging out with law students. And I was going to law school in Chicago at the University of Chicago, and the only people I knew in Chicago were law students, and I wasn't good at meeting people. And I wanted to make some friends that weren't law students, so I liked stand-up, so I decided to go to an open mic. And I never thought about, like, actually doing it to do it. I just thought, I'll go to an open mic, meet people. It'll be like a fun environment where people are drinking and doing comedy. And then I guess I just got hooked on it. And then after I graduated law school, I went to New York City to get my first job as a lawyer, and I just kept doing stand-up there. And then I live in Atlanta now, and now I'm on the MaD Bros podcast. So basically, I've made it. I mean, this is all really needed for your career.
I mean, started at the bottom, now you're here. Right?
Yeah, started at the bottom, still pretty close to the bottom.
Oh, well.
I mean, I'm not, you know me, like, for myself. Like, this is a huge honor for me.
Right, and we're honored to have you on. Now, you mentioned something that I wanted to ask. You have this really interesting sort of double life going on there, where you're a lawyer, but you also do, like, stand-up comedy, which on sort of the crowds that you sort of interact with, doing both those two things seem like they'd be so different. Can you sort of speak to that sort of split and how different those are?
Well, I mean, it's actually, you'd be surprised at how similar lawyers and stand-up comedians are, because you both have to, like, analyze the world very analytically and try to see things and arguments that people don't normally see. And there are a lot of lawyers that go into stand-up comedy. And one of the most famous examples is Greg Giraldo, who, I don't know if you know his story, but he went to Harvard Law School. And after he graduated, he got a job at one of New York City's best law firms, like literally like the number 4 law firm in the world. And after like a few months, he just quit to do comedy, but he hadn't been doing comedy before that. He'd literally only written jokes in his notebook. So he quit like a 6-figure job just to try comedy, not knowing where it would go. And obviously he became like one of the best ever before he died. But it's like a crazy story. And back before he was a nobody, GQ did a story on like Harvard law graduates that hated the law and got out and did some other weird shit. And he was in that article. And not even as like Greg Giraldo, the famous comedian, just Greg Giraldo, the Harvard law student that dropped out. And what's crazy was when I was in law school, I read that article and I went to see Greg Giraldo in Chicago, and it was a great show and I laughed my ass off. And then afterwards, we did that meet and greet where you can meet the comedian. And I was like, hey man, I read that article in GQ about how you went to Harvard Law School and then you decided to quit and do comedy. I thought that was so cool. And then he was just like, next. Like, he wasn't going to talk about it at all, which I understand because his persona as a comedian was completely different. His persona as a comedian was like this badass, like drug doing, every man. And I actually talked to some people that knew him later on, and they were like, yeah, that for the first few years of his career, that GQ article defined him. Like, people thought of him more as like the lawyer that quit to do comedy rather than the really good comedians, so he tried to run from that, which is part of the reason he didn't want to talk about it with some random douchebag at the club that came to see him, aka moi.
Definitely. You really hadn't committed to the level he did, you know, because you obviously still have your 6-figure job.
Yeah, and I can't really commit to being a comedian because I have student loans I need to pay off. And what Greg Giraldo did is crazy because you don't even get good enough to even be worth anything until you're at least 5 to 10 years in. And I just hit the 5-year mark. So I shouldn't even really be considering stand-up as like a serious thing for another couple of years. And I need to pay off my student loans anyway. So that's just what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell us, how long do you think, how long did it take you to sort of formulate that first, like real solid joke that actually got laughs?
Well, it's kind of interesting, like, part of the reason I did stand-up wasn't because I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, but because I was watching so much stand-up in law school that I just kept thinking of bits, and I was like, well, you know, what about this? And I kept thinking of all these bits, and after a while, I was just like, I just have to try these, you know? Like, I just wanted to go see if these bits are actually good, because when it's like when you listen to your favorite band enough, you start thinking about ways that you would do the song, or like, if you watch a lot of movies, you think like, well, if I made a movie, it would be like blah, blah, blah. So I wrote these bits, and then when I went and tried the bits, they actually worked, and my first bits weren't that bad. So I kind of did them for a while. But, I mean, obviously now looking back, they're terrible. But, so, yeah, and the thing that's scary about comedy is that, like, every day, you don't know if you're ever gonna write anything funny again. Like, if you're like a lawyer, if you're like most jobs, lawyer, you know, accountant, work at Target, whatever you do, at some point you get good enough that you know how to do it. Like, you're not gonna forget how to become a lawyer. Unless, like, you get like a drug problem or something, you're always gonna know how to do it. But doing comedy, there's no guarantee you'll be funny next week. You know what I mean? It's an everyday thing, which is cool because that means you can be a nobody and be funnier than a 20-year headliner. Like sometimes, you know, there'll be nobodies that open up for famous guys and then they're better than the famous guy because the famous guy got lazy or he just isn't funny anymore. But that's also something really scary about doing stand-up is that every day is something new. Like, you have no idea if you're going to be funny anymore. And there are a lot of great comics that just stop being funny. And I mean, I'm sure you guys, you know, you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. One of the crazy examples is Sam Kinison. For like a few years, he was one of the best stand-up comedians ever, and then he just lost it.
Oh, and I would say, since you brought him up, Joe Rogan qualifies. I saw him live recently. It's just not what he used to be.
You think he's gotten worse?
Oh, definitely. I think he was, so we have to go back to the Island Kate moment was the Anna Nicole Smith joke.
That was years and years and years ago.
Everything after the Anna Nicole Smith joke is just a continuous downward fall. And, his new, Rocky Mountain High is so, it was underwhelming. Very underwhelming. He was so high, up in the, yeah, I know, bad choice of words. But, the same way Kinison had where every, special he did, just sort of got worse and worse. I feel Rogan's trajectory is doing the same, thing, and you can point to a lot of comedians, doing the same thing. Now, since we're sort of going in that direction there, I'm sure you've had just horrendous, bombing stories where you just nothing's working. Can you speak to that a bit? Like, is there one that just sort of sticks out as like the just hardest time you had on stage?
Well, I do a lot of hood rooms in Atlanta.
Which means?
Urban rooms, urban audiences, basically black people.
Yeah.
And those are great rooms to do because those are the hardest crowds to make laugh. But if you can make them laugh, then you know your material is good. Like, if you can kill in a hood room, you can kill in a white room too. But there are a lot of people that can kill in a white room and then they eat shit in the hood room because.
So are white people just more polite? They're more likely to give you a courtesy laugh.
They're more likely to like listen to what you have to say. You know what I mean? And they're more open-minded. So if you bomb your first joke in a white room, they're not going to hate you. They're going to be like, okay, well, that joke didn't work. Let's hear the next one. But in a hood room, if you bomb the first joke, then they're like, nope, fuck you. We don't want to hear anything else to say. I don't care. Like, your next joke could be the funniest thing ever. We don't give a fuck. You've already fucked it up. And in fact, in a hood room, if you just come on stage without like confidence and swag, like you know you're going to kill it, if you like fumble the mic as the host is giving it to you, the crowd is going to look at you and be like, nope, this guy sucks. Don't even want to hear it. Don't even want to hear it. One night.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Matthew. Your turn.
Do you write any fallback hood jokes? Like, if shit starts to go awry, do you have like, I got this one. This is my urban material.
Yeah, I actually have certain jokes that I just do in hood rooms because I know they work. So going back to your earlier story, like a time when I was bombing. So here's kind of an interesting story. So obviously I'm from the Middle East, I'm brown, but I don't like to do jokes about that because it's a little hacky. And also, it's not like a part of my life. It's not something I dwell on. I'm not one of these people that's like constantly, feeling bad about being a minority. So I don't really write jokes about that thing. But in a hood room, you gotta do whatever you fucking do to stay alive. So one time I was doing an urban show and I wasn't really bombing. I was bombing. I was bombing and people just weren't listening. Like they were just talking. They just didn't care that I was on stage. It was a packed house. I'm trying to do my jokes. Nobody's listening. And then I hear a guy yell boo in the back. And I didn't understand what he was saying. I thought he was like trying to say something. So I was like, what'd you say? And then he goes, boo. And I was like, oh shit. Like this guy's trying to boo me. And then another person started booing. And then like a third person. And then that's how booing starts. It's like one person starts booing and then it spreads like a virus.
It's like yawning. It's infectious.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, it's okay to boo this guy. You need that one leader to be like, hey, it's okay to be an asshole. So I started freaking out, like, I'm getting booed, and I'd never been booed off stage before. I'd bombed a lot, but never booed off stage. And then I go, hey, I know you guys think it's okay to boo comedians, but my people have bombs. And I hate saying jokes like that because it's so cliche and tacky and hacky. But when I said that line, and then the crowd laughed, and I was like, okay, I'm back on track. So I saved getting booed off stage by making a hacky terrorist joke. Saved
a bombing with the bomb joke.
That's very true. I never thought of it that way.
You're like, I'm gonna bomb you back.
The rebomb.
Yes. Are there Arab clubs? So, you said there's a ghetto, or what do you call it, a hood room or whatever? Are there comedy clubs that like sort of cater towards the, Arab Americans? Probably like Dearborn.
There probably are. There aren't any in Atlanta. There's an Arab American comedy festival. And, okay, well here's an interesting story about that. So, I'm Iranian, which is technically not Arab. Iranians and Arabs are different, because we don't speak Arabic. That's the definition of Arab. But to most Americans, we're the same thing. Most Americans don't know the difference. So, when I was in New York, I decided to try out for the Arab American Comedy Festival. So I go to this audition, and it's 15 comics, and literally, I was the only guy that had ever done stand-up before. Now, mind you, I'm not good, I'm not great, but I had done stand-up for like 2 years at that point. I had decent material, I knew how to do stand-up, and these guys literally had never done stand-up before. So I'm waiting in the audition room and I'm like, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get something out of this, I'm the only person in this room that's done stand-up. And like I said, I don't like to do hacky terrorist jokes, but I did. I have some that I've written. So I was like, I'll just do my hacky terrorist jokes. They'll like me, blah, blah, blah.
Really? So the Arabs like the, terrorist jokes? I would think that they would resent that.
I mean, for the Arab American Comedy Festival, there's not a lot of great Arab comedians. So they know the only way they can get laughs is by doing that shit.
Okay.
And it was kind of it was kind of stupid because some of these guys would get up there and they would make jokes about bombing things and like hating Israel and all that stuff. And I'd be like, the whole point of this is to fucking fight stereotypes. Why are you being the stereotype, you idiot? So I'm sitting in the audition and I'm watching these guys just do terrible stand-up because, like I said, they've never done stand-up before. And I started to think, well, what if they have a problem with me because I'm not Arab? Like, I'm not technically Arab. I'm Persian. So I decided to lie to them and say I'm half Persian and I'm half Arab. My mom's Arab. That was what I was going to say. So I get up there and then they look at my name and then they're like, Sam Zayvan, that's not an Arab name. And I was like, really? So I was like, well, I'm half Arab, my mom's Arab, blah, blah, blah. So I go there, I do my about 5 minutes of my actual real stand-up that I know how to do stand-up. I kill in front of the little audition crowd. And then the lady's like, well, we're looking for Arabs. And I was like, bitch, I just said I'm half Arab. Like, you're really going to be discriminating against me because I'm not the exact fucking ethnicity that you're looking for? Like, it's not, I don't want to sound like I'm like bitter or anything, but it's just so stupid that Arab American Comedy Festival is going to say no to the Persian guy. Like, the whole point of it is to like make towel heads look good in America, and you're like, no, you're not technically the right kind of towel head for us to promote.
So were they looking for a more Araby name? I mean, because nobody in the audience could really tell the difference, right?
Yeah, I guess they technically wanted Arabs. Like, you have to be full-blooded Arab, like from Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon. Like, Iran is not good. I have no idea why they were like this. I mean, it might have just been that the person didn't like me. I'm very unlikable, as you guys know. It might have been that they just didn't like me. They were making an excuse. But I thought it was weird. Like, you're really going to be strict about being actually Arab in this thing, which is Americans have no idea what the difference is.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. How much Farsi do you speak?
I mean, I can speak like conversational.
Oh.
You know, I can't. I'm not fluent, but I can't read or write at a high level. I can read or write at like a second grade level.
So like you could you know just enough to like sort of translate for Ahmadinejad.
Well, see, like academic or high level Farsi, I don't know that because I've only spoken to my parents like in the house. Like for day to day, like getting around the city, I can do it because I know how to regular talk. But if you're talking about like nuclear disarmament and global politics, I don't know those words. And
as the listeners have heard, me flexing my mental muscle I had to prove I knew the difference between Arabic and Persian. So when you go before this panel for the Arab American Comedy Festival, so you already had the lie about your mother being Arab. Why didn't you just go the whole way and be like, I go by Mohammed Zayvan?
Well, cause I just didn't think they'd care. I didn't think that would even be a thing, you know? My mom's Arab, I just did that as a just in case, in a once in a million possibility that they give a shit that I'm not actually Arab. But then when I got there, they're like, no, it's actually a big deal. And also, I think if I'd done the whole Muhammad thing, they might have been like, okay, we'll speak some Arabic, or you don't look Arabic, or all this other stuff.
So you definitely feel you were discriminated against there. Do you feel that within comedy you've been discriminated against elsewhere? Like you've not gotten that show because they weren't looking for an Arab, or because you were Arab, or you know what I mean, Persian.
I mean, I don't really ever feel discriminated against, but I know that whenever there's an audition for something, they're looking for a specific thing, and you can't feel bad that you're not that thing. Like I was at I auditioned for the late night spot to I forget what it's called. There's a club in New York that lets you do late night spots, and a lot of people, and it has open auditions. And I remember I was at the open audition, and my friend was there, who I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want to make it about him, but he's a hilarious comic. He does one-liners. Does these hilarious one-liners. He's kind of like Mitch Hedberg, and he goes up there and he kills his audition, just hilarious one-liners. And then at the time when the dude is talking to you, the owner of the club, he goes, well, you were great, your one-liners were great, but we just already have a guy that does one-liners. So it's like, it doesn't even matter that how good he is. They are not looking for somebody that does one-liners. And then you'll be like in another situation where they're just looking for a guy who does like more urban comedy, and you're just not that. And you can't get mad at that. You know what I mean? Like, part of the reason Carlos Mencia is famous as a comedian isn't because he was ever good, but because the industry just needed a Mexican or some type of Latino comic, and there weren't that many, and there still aren't that many. It's a huge comedy market, but there just wasn't that many, so they took the best one they could get, which overall he's a mediocre comic, not to mention the joke fee.
Yeah, it's weird how, like, rich and famous, Gabriel Iglesias got. Like, I watch his comedy, and it's just not very good, but he's just so big in the Hispanic community. Same way that, Mencia parlayed, Stealing Jules' jokes into, like, what, a $50 million show?
Yeah, and he pretended to be Hispanic too. Like, he is
Ned?
Hispanic, but he pretended to be something he's not. Like, he pretended to be Mexican or something. His name isn't really Carlos, his name is Ned or something.
Ned Holston or something? Holdsmith or something?
Yeah, it's funny that he pretended to be more Latin just to...
Yeah, and, like, he would always, talk about, oh, I actually have a green card, but it's like, it wasn't a green card from Mexico, it was from Germany or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge market that there's really just no comics for it. There's just no Latin comics, and there are a lot of people that like that comedy. And I've never done a Latin room, but I've heard that those rooms are really hard. Like, they're harder than black rooms.
Really?
Yeah, I've never done it, so I couldn't speak for, like, first-hand knowledge. It kind of makes sense in that, their English isn't great, so they might not understand a lot of shit, or they may just want really relatable comedy. I have no idea, but I've just heard those are really hard rooms.
They wouldn't react well to you walking on stage with a sombrero trying to fit in?
Actually, I thought about that. When I was in Chicago, I knew that there was a Latin circuit, and I thought about going up there and just, like, pretending to be from some Latin country and being like, hey, gracias.
From Ecuador.
And then that would be all I knew. And they'd be like, all right, well, what else? I'd be like, yeah, that's all I got. Back to onto my dick jokes.
Awesome. So, and of course, it would not be the MaD Bro Radio podcast without technical difficulties. It does appear that we've lost Matthew. So, while we're trying to get him reconnected, we're just going to power through here. So, Sam, we, myself and Matthew, both know you from the Joe Rogan web forums, in which, I used the term earlier. I'm not sure what you think of it, but like, you're kind of a pariah on there. You're not, you're sort of a personality that has just become, in vogue to not like Sam Zayvan. What's sort of your opinion on that community's, reaction towards you?
Well, I don't want to like, go on and on about it. I will say that I'm not as hated as people think. I think there's a lot of people that do like me, but the people that don't like me are so vocal, and they post so much that it seems like everybody hates me.
Like, let me just say, for a long time, I have firmly been a Sam Zayvan fan and vocal about it.
I know, I appreciate that, and I love you for it.
Yeah, I love you too, man.
And I'm not just saying this to be nice. Honestly, I think you're one of the best posters on the board.
Oh, thank you.
When you post about issues, you're always very fair and even candid and intelligent. Like, you never just get emotional and crazy like a lot of people do. So, I always think you have a good position on things.
Well, thank you. I try very hard not to, not to be like anyone who would post on my Facebook. Try very hard.
But the hatred is deserved. I mean, I'm a troll. I write a lot of shitty things, and I can understand the hatred. And I've gotten better, and I will continue to get better. But I totally understand it.
Yeah, but did it start off as like I'm trying to upset these people, or was the air quotes trolling a response to what I saw, which sort of, I remember sort of watching it in real time, how just out of nowhere, overnight, it just became really cool not to like Sam Zayvan, and there were just posts everywhere where you became a thing, you know? Was it a reaction to that sort of movement, or was sort of some of that by design?
Well, I mean, I don't think I ever showed up thinking I want to make people mad, but whenever I see people getting really passionate about something, I always like to take the counter view, because I'm kind of a nonconformist in that, like, I always want to take the other position. So I used to go troll on conservative web message boards and post liberal shit and argue with people, and I would always get banned. So, and then when I would go to, so when I'm on the Rogan board, people are writing all this like crazy libertarian stuff. I naturally wanted to take the other position, but then people took that very seriously, and they got really mad at me. And then, I took internet as serious business, and I got into the mud with people. Like, instead of just being like, whatever, I got into it, and then I just looked like a huge douchebag, and people it became like fun to hate me, and I kind of liked it too. So it kind of spiraled out of control. But then the problem happened when the mods started hating me. Then I was like, okay, now you're out of here.
Yeah, I always find it funny, on any, sort of, libertarian community, how people who are so, who adamantly support the non-aggression principle are so aggressive towards dissenting opinions. It always is sort of, and I see that on, the Rogan board where, we know you from, where, the same people who are, talking about all this, the libertarian crowd, they're very aggressive. Anything that's dissenting at all, they just swarm and attack people. And I think that you sort of jumped in without sort of knowing how deep those waters got.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things I've ever read was somebody posted something about how most people's politics is just them projecting their weaknesses on other people. Like, liberals are really greedy and selfish people, so they pretend like they're the really compassionate, loving, caring people that want to help the poor, and they act like the conservatives are evil and selfish, when really liberals donate much less money to charity than conservatives. And then likewise, conservatives act like liberals are lazy welfare bums, when really they're actually very lazy. You know what I mean? It's like people project their weaknesses on other people. Like, hot girls, I've noticed, love to pretend like they're humble and they're good people and they help people. And it's clear that they're just projecting their weaknesses. Like, if you really want to make a hot girl happy, you should say something like, you're a good person. You're a true humanitarian. Because deep in her soul, she knows she's a narcissistic, selfish bitch. So she's projecting that as, like, to make herself feel better. So I'm sure a lot of these, like, libertarians that are like, non-aggression principle, don't hurt anybody, don't do it. I'm sure they're just repressing their own, like, aggression and projecting it on other people. That's why, like, a lot of these, the most, like, quote-unquote enlightened type people, like the Buddhist type people that are like, oh man, love one another, we're all one, it's a spiritual thing. They're the quickest ones to get, like, really angry and pissy when you criticize them, because they're actually shitheads, and they're doing this Buddhist shit as, like, a way of projecting their weaknesses away.
Definitely. Now that you're a good person line, is that what you roll out on all the little groupies that show up to comedy shows?
The chuckle puckers?
Yes.
Oh, no, I only use that on the hottest of the hot. Like, if a girl is, like, super, super, super hot, and she says anything about charity, I act like she's fucking Mother Teresa. I'm like, oh my god, you volunteered on Thanksgiving to help at a soup shelter? That's so amazing. You have such a good heart. When in reality, that's the one day that they don't even want volunteers, because everybody volunteers on that day. And then when you post about it on Facebook, whatever charity you do is negated by the fact you posted it on Facebook. So you're actually just an attention whore, but you feed their narcissism. You're like, oh my god, you're like Gandhi. You're like basically Gandhi in a dress. I mean, I can't believe it.
And just like Gandhi, I would like to see you in nothing but your underwear.
Yeah, just like you, I want to have a non-violent protest. I mean, that was funny.
So, like, how often does that happen where you get the girls who, like, show up and, like, you know what their purpose for coming was?
Oh, like comedy groupies?
Yeah.
Are there a lot of them?
Not for people like me. Like, I'm not famous. I open for famous people sometimes, and they get groupies. And that's kind of cool to watch, because those girls are just the dumbest girls ever.
But are they good looking?
Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're really hot. I actually was dating a girl who ended up being a comedy groupie, and she didn't even know I do comedy. She was like thinking that she was dating a lawyer. So this is kind of an interesting story. So all right, let me tell you the story. So I was dating this girl who we were just like getting to know each other. She was like, I love comedy. In fact, I used to date this comedian in LA. And I was like, oh really? You dated a comedian? Because in LA? She goes, yeah. I met him when he came to Atlanta to do a show. And then we just started talking. And then he moved back, and he went back to LA because that's where he lives. And then I ended up moving to LA to be with him. And then we were in LA. We broke up. So then I moved back to Atlanta. And I just love comedy. And I was like, when I realized that she had dated like a professional comedian that's been on TV and stuff, I felt ashamed to say that I did comedy. I didn't want to look like I do comedy too. So I just didn't tell her that I did comedy. And then I was talking to my friend that's like the manager of the Improv here in Atlanta, and I was like, hey man, I'm dating this really hot girl, blah, blah, blah. She said she used to date this comedian, and I showed her a picture of her, and he goes, oh yeah, she just fucks comedians. She's a groupie. She just comes to shows and just fucks them that night. And then her story made a lot more sense. It's like, oh, she didn't date this guy. Like, he came to Atlanta to do a show. She fucked him. Then he went back to LA. And then, like a crazy person, she moved to LA to be with him. And then he was like, what are you doing, you crazy bitch? No. And then they broke up, which they didn't really ever break up because they never dated. And then she just moved back to Atlanta like a crazy person. And then I would just like, I still like occasionally see her at shows just trying to fuck the comedian. And I'm like, you're a gross bitch.
Really, you weren't like, well, let's see what this is about.
No, because the thing is, I'm not attracted to those types of girls because those groupie girls, like, you know how like when you're trying to hook up with a girl, there's some level of game required. You gotta say some nice things and put some time in. Those groupies there's no game. It's just, they're just whores. Like, they just show up and they want to fuck. Like, they try to kick them out of backstage and then they sneak around the other way. Like, they have like they're the most dignityless, like, whorish. I don't like slut shaming. I don't judge girls that like to have sex, but these comedians are just assholes to them and the girls just take it because they just want to have a famous dick in them. It's like really gross to see comedy groupies.
But, so, what's the, are we talking like nines, you know, what you can look past that, or like, what's your bar for, how hot they have to be for you to look past the fact that they're a comedy groupie?
I mean, okay, so I'm not gonna fuck a comedy groupie just by being a comedian. I would actually have to chase them, which I don't want to chase a whore. But so, like,
you have no confidence in your ability just to tell that Ghostbusters joke so well that they're just all over you.
I'm not that good. But like, no, a lot of comedy groupie girls are like 6s and 7s, and they have like really low self-esteem. And I would definitely bang them, but I'm not attracted. I would never like want to have a real relationship with a comedy groupie, you know?
You know, what about lawyer groupies?
I mean, that's any girl that gives it away too quickly like that. Like, it's like gross, you know? Like I've been on dates with girls where they just want to talk about how I'm a lawyer, like, oh, so you're a lawyer, like, do you get to fly a lot, and do you get to do this and that? And then it's clear, it's like, oh, you just want to fuck a rich person. And I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. I'm paying off my student loans. I'm actually like living pretty shitty. But I'm just trying to pay my student loans so I can move on to comedy. And it's like, you clearly just want to fuck a rich person. You just clearly fucking want to fuck a lawyer. And that's gross to me. And then it's also gross when you just want to fuck a comedian. You don't care who he is, what he looks like. You know, how much of a dick he is to you, how he's treating you. He doesn't even want you there, but you just, no, I've just decided I will fuck a comedian. That's not cool.
What type of law do you practice? Just to make a sudden change in topic, sorry.
Patent litigation.
That sounds exciting.
It's kind of cool. I like it.
So, wow. So I was expecting to be able to ask, something about that, but patents, it sounds, to me, it seems like a patent hearing would just devolve into minutia so quick.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it is. It's like whoever can find the one little detail to defeat the other person's argument. And that's why patent trolls are such a big problem, because you get a broad patent that looks like it covers a lot of shit, and then the defendant has to prove that their invention doesn't technically meet all the requirements of the patent. And that's why it costs so much and takes so much time to adjudicate these cases, which is why the patent trolls can just sue you and then demand a big settlement, which is what's happening to Adam Carolla and a bunch of other podcasters.
Yeah, so when someone sues us because, they patented the term MaD Bro Radio, you're gonna defend us in court? Pro bono?
Sure.
Alright, we got you on record.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a trademark dispute, not a patent, but yeah.
Oh, well, see,
I'm trying to ride
that's why you're the lawyer.
I'm trying to ride this train of success. I'm trying to ride your coattails and be one of y'all groupies.
Oh yeah, you're definitely welcome to hook up with Matthew.
Thank you.
Anytime, any place, anywhere.
Don't play with my emotions. Don't make promises you can't keep.
Alright, this is the part of the show where we sort of change mood a bit. We are going... you've listened to the show before, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the podcast, Kate. Sam, what have you been... You have a Netflix account, right?
I use my sister's, but yeah.
I use Matthew's. What have you been watching recently?
I'm watching the new Bill Burr stand-up special.
What do you think?
I think it's really good. I mean, I think he's probably one of the best to do it right now.
What about TV shows? Like, TV shows?
I'm honestly not really up to speed on those TV shows. I'm like way behind on that.
Really? You're not like, catching up on Breaking Bad or anything?
No, I've actually never seen Breaking Bad.
Oh.
I'm meaning to get into it because everyone keeps talking about it, but...
Yeah, that's a must see. If you haven't ventured off into the world of, binge watching TV on Netflix, then, that's a good way to ruin your life, and you should definitely get into it.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that I'm gonna get addicted to it and then just waste, lose like a whole week of my life.
I watched the entire series of West Wing in 10 days. That's 7 seasons, like 22 some odd episodes a season in 10 days.
Wait, it's 22 episodes a season times 7?
Times 45 minutes.
So you just watched 140 episodes in 7 days?
10.
10 days. That's amazing. That's 14 episodes a day.
Yeah. And I was actively going to college and doing things during this too, which makes it sort of more impressive.
Damn.
It's like a really boring full-time job.
You know what? How dare you? Because President Bartlett is my spirit animal, and I resent you insulting the show in any way.
What do you think you've gotten from that? Like, now that you've finished that task, how are you a better person for having watched all of West Wing in 10 days?
I think that one of the things that West Wing taught me is that the president is insignificant. It's about the people who he surrounds himself with. And of course, while watching this, I always have Wikipedia open on the other tab, and I you just go through and, like, everything in the show is real. You know, the chief of staff has way more impact than the president. And so, you know, just sort of a perspective on how the U.S. government actually works is sort of what I pulled out of this very entertaining TV show from, like, the early 2000s. Matthew, what have you been watching on the Netflix?
I don't know. Recently, I haven't been watching a whole bunch.
Really? I thought you were watching that Black Mirror show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I watched, I still haven't finished it. The first 4 episodes. Have you started watching it yet?
No. I actually, after I finished The West Wing, got started on Marco Polo.
Ugh.
Which is so good. So good. Like, every other scene is nude Chinese women, and then the next scene is just gratuitous, silly amounts of violence. And then there's this, like, convoluted story that doesn't really make sense, but you know,
Did they ever mix the violence of the Chinese women?
Yes.
Naked violence, Chinese, all in one scene?
Yes.
Alright.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, okay.
Is this about the actual Marco Polo when he goes to China and discovers everything?
Yeah, it's about his time as a slave of Kublai Khan.
He was a slave?
Yeah, Marco Polo went to China. When he went to China, he went there at like 14, and his father gave him to Kublai Khan as sort of a peace offering because the priest that they were supposed to bring to Kublai Khan in exchange for passage on the Silk Road turned back on the way over. And because they were, you know, men of God, they couldn't force them to go with them. So as a peace offering, Marco Polo's father gave him as a sort of a boy servant to Kublai Khan as a way to still be able to travel the Silk Road, even though they had failed to meet their obligation under their previous agreement.
That doesn't really chalk up the same, does it? I mean, they were going to give him a priest, and instead he just got his shitty kid.
Well, so it was like a peace offering, and then he had to bring priests later.
Oh, so it was like, here's my shitty kid just to tide you over, we're bringing another priest.
Well, I think it was like 15 priests or something, because Kublai Khan wanted emissaries of the Pope to pledge their allegiance and that the Khans were the true rulers of Earth or whatever.
And
it's actually a really interesting story, like what actually happened. But yeah, like that's Marco Polo was and of course in real life he was like 14 when this happened. In the show he's like 25, and you know, just stunning, just so hot. Yeah, like there's a lot of historical inaccuracies in this show, but it's so good, so good.
I'm kind of dumb, but fill me in. What exactly? What's Marco Polo's thing? What are we supposed to know him for?
Marco Polo effectively introduced China to Europe.
He's the first European to ever be in China.
Not true. He was the first one to write extensively about it and bring back descriptions and samples of things that were in China. Previously, it had just been passed through to get to sort of the silk areas, you know, south of China. But he was the first one to actually go into China, into Mongolia, into all the way to the Chinese coast. And he was a very good writer. And he was very good at embellishing things, and he drew pictures, and he introduced Europe to just this real exaggerated tale of what China was like. But there had been Europeans there before him. You know, Marco Polo was there in China with his father, who was just traveling on the Silk Road, and there was some dispute happened, but the Silk Road was already a thing. Europeans were already traveling through China.
And the most amazing thing about Marco Polo was that not only did he provide the first European representation of China to the West, to the first representation of China to the West, and he spent time as Kublai Khan's slave. But on top of that, the most impressive thing is that in the middle of that, he had time to invent a type of tag you play in a swimming pool where your eyes are closed.
Exactly. What's the correlation there?
I'm not sure. I don't know why you say Marco Polo.
Is it just I think it's just a cool name. You know, it has that little rhymey kind of sound to it, maybe.
It's 4 syllables. I'm not sure.
Maybe Kublai Khan liked to play a really kinky game in his swimming pool with his little boy slaves.
I'm sure that's probably got something to do with it.
And Marco Polo was like trying to hide so he wouldn't get banged in the ass. And he'd be like, Marco! And then Marco Polo would be like, Polo!
It seems like anytime you have a story about like some warlord from like before 1600, there's always some sort of child molestation going on.
Yeah, there's always at least a hint of butt fucking.
Yeah, like always. Like name any world leader prior to 1600, and there's some stuff going down.
I think if you just name anybody that's received another man's son as a race service, there's some fuckery afoot.
Well, you know what's interesting is that Mick Jagger fucked David Bowie. So,
Did he?
yeah. So maybe once you get to the point where you can fuck any girl you want, then your next natural step is, let me try sticking my dick in other things. I mean, why not?
That's true. So he stuck his dick in Bowie. So it wasn't, he was the top?
I actually don't know the answer to that. Bowie might have fucked him, but the point remains that there were 2 straight dudes that got a lot of pussy, and they were like, hey, why don't we just fuck each other?
I love
how Matthew's so like committed to like this blind faith to his rock idol that he could not imagine that Mick Jagger would be the bottom.
Whoa. I don't like the guy at all. I think that band sucks. I was just trying to get a good mental image.
Oh, so you just think he's attractive?
I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever seen him where he didn't look like a corpse. Did he ever look youthful?
Yeah, like 60 years ago.
Yeah.
He was a good-looking guy back in the day, in the 60s.
Yeah, that Satisfaction song, the video for that, like he was young. You know, it was pre-heroin. Heroin probably didn't help. I think that ages you a bit.
Well, he's super old and he survived heroin too.
Yeah, isn't his quote on that is someone how he survived doing heroin so long, and he's like, I buy expensive heroin.
Yeah, that's funny.
I guess that probably helps.
Right,
I bet you drugs wouldn't be nearly as like unsafe if they were legal. Like if they had like instructions on them, like, hey, this is cocaine. Don't do more than 2 bumps in a night. You know,
right,
it would thin the herd of stupid people that didn't follow the instructions and shit like that, but I'm sure it would help.
Oh,
Plus, you know what you were buying, and it had a nice little label there.
Oh, wait. Cigarettes have labels on them that say this will give you cancer. And Panda, how many cigarettes did you smoke today?
Oh, I don't know, 6 or 7. But
I don't think labeling is going to help that.
It's not an instant death. It's a completely different thing.
I think there's a giant label in like big block letters that says, you know, this will kill your children.
I don't know that it's giant. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. It just says cigarette smoke contains carbon monoxide.
Yeah, and people have carbon monoxide detectors in their house because if there's too much of that, you just die, and you're like inhaling it directly.
Yeah, I know they're not helpful for you. I'm still going to argue that it's different than if you could buy cocaine at the... Yeah, you're probably right.
Like, I'm pretty sure cocaine and heroin can kill you slowly as well.
Whittle you down.
Yeah. So how much drugs is there in the stand-up comedy world? Since, I mean, it just popped into my head.
I mean, there's a lot of comedians just are fucked up. They have, you know, depression, anxiety, drug problems, alcohol problems. I mean, one of my fears about doing comedy is that all of my favorite comedians, almost every single one, had a serious drug or alcohol or some kind of problem. And I really think you need to have something like that to be funny. Because you need to have those extreme emotions to make those funny jokes. Like, my favorite comedian is Bill Hicks, and he had a drug and alcohol problem. I love Patrice O'Neal. He had a food problem. Sam Kinison had drug and alcohol problem. You know, Patton Oswalt has deep depression. It's just, I really don't, it's very rare to find a good comedian without some serious mental issue like that. And that's one thing that I'm afraid about. Like, you know, do I want to live a happy, healthy, spiritually enlightened life? Or do I want to be funny? And that's like, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to strike that balance.
Well, is it that, I don't think comedy is what makes Patton Oswalt depressed. I think he's depressed, and that's kind of what makes him funny.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm afraid that you need to have that problem to be funny.
Right on, okay.
Wait a second, what about Jim Gaffigan? Guy doesn't seem that depressed. I think he's kind of funny.
I mean, I think
jokes about McDonald's.
Dude.
It's fine, but it's not like, his comedy's not like the cutting edge.
Yeah, he's not breaking any ground, I guess. But
hold on. Well,
Davis,
Jim,
quit. Stop while you're ahead. He does that manatee voice. Have you heard that voice he does where he's impersonating a manatee?
Yeah.
I am okay. I think y'all are really downplaying how great Jim Gaffigan is.
Oh, Christ.
And
no, he's good. That was my example. I can't think of anybody else that seems like they're well balanced and I find funny.
There was no one else on earth who could make a joke about Hot Pockets that funny. He's the only one.
Well, I guess.
Well, I kind of feel like, okay, I don't want to sound like a hater, but I kind of feel like he's got this formula now where he just talks about food. Like, I was watching a clip from his new special today, and he was just talking about seafood. He was like, "What's the deal with crab? Why does everybody eat crab?" And I was like, man.
He's one of those guys that a lot of it's in how he says things and the voice. Like, he found that one voice, that one style of saying things, and he's just beating it into the fucking ground.
You know what? Y'all are such haters, okay? Just because someone found something that works and is awesome doesn't mean they have to stop doing it immediately. I mean,
I'm not saying he had to stop it. I'm just saying you can call it for what it is. You know, he's got a good point here.
Could you imagine if Jason Statham tried to do like a romance movie? That would suck so bad.
Oh, you would be all over it.
No, I wouldn't, okay? Because Jason Statham is the greatest actor of our time. See, look at this hatred that's going on.
I'm not hating on him. I just think it's funny that you have such a strong opinion on that.
This is a.
It's beyond strong opinion. It's a downright man crush. It's beyond a crush.
No, we don't even know if Jim Gaffigan's not fucked up. Like, he might have some serious issues that we don't even know about. Like, he might have like anger issues. I do know he's got anger issues. Like, I've heard about in New York when he's just doing a small little club, he's physically attacked hecklers before.
Really?
Yeah. Like, he bum rushed a guy in the audience once.
No way. See, that's
You would have never thought from his like demeanor and his comedy and stuff, but that's a real thing. And when I heard about that, the person that told me was like, no, he's been known to do stuff like that. Like, if you piss him off, he'll come after you.
He was going to be on a radio show here locally, the Pugs and Kelly show, like 5 or 6 years ago, and they had something happen, and like their segment went really long, so he's sitting there like waiting in like the little waiting room before they bring him on the show, and he was supposed to go on air at like 10:30 or something, and it's 10:50. Okay, so they're 20 minutes late getting to his interview. And he, like, when they finally brought him in, like, he, like, tore up a mic stand or something and, like, threw it up against the wall, just mad because they were 20 minutes late getting to him. And he stormed out of the studio.
Wow, now he sounds like a dick.
You know what? He's the funniest man alive, and I don't appreciate you being so mean.
How did he go from being good to being the funniest man alive that quick?
I think he's the funniest man alive.
I think that anyone who can make comedy that is so accessible without having to go to. So earlier you talked about just sort of the hacky topics of for an era where it's to blow things up. You know, for every comedian ever, it's penis jokes, it's relationship jokes. Jim Gaffigan is so, he's relatable, and he's a comedian who you could go to see with your mother. And the fact that he can still be just as funny as Bill Hicks or Patrice O'Neill while being so accessible tells me that he's the funniest man alive.
Well, that's unique. That he is.
Well, what
just
about Brian Regan? Brian Regan's clean and accessible.
Yeah, but I've never heard of him.
You've never heard of Brian Regan?
So popularity is a huge factor when you. Okay, so like when I say that Jason Statham is the greatest actor of all time, okay, yeah, there might have been some dude in the 20s who just housed every movie he was in. But if you've never heard of him, he really can't be in consideration. How many great movies are there that don't get nominated for the Academy Awards? Okay, like you have to be. So I've never heard of whoever you just said. Well, that means something.
Brian Regan is pretty well known. You've heard of him, haven't you?
No, I've heard of him. I don't know that I've ever seen any of his stand-up though.
Dude, Brian Regan, you guys should both look up Brian Regan. He's considered by a lot of people to be the funniest stand-up out right now. And he's completely clean. Yeah. Like Patton Oswalt, like I think even Joe said it on his podcast. Brian Regan, as far as clean people go, he's by far the funniest clean comic. And his comedy is hilarious.
Now, but you're in the comedy scene, right? Like I could probably name a lot of tuba players or a lot of people who do jujitsu that you guys have never heard of. Like, I mean, I could talk about Buchecha all day and talk about how good he is. That doesn't mean anything.
So you're saying we should gauge who the funniest comedian is by somebody that doesn't have a good grasp on who is out doing comedy?
I'm saying that things, okay, just like music or movies or comedians, they become popular because they're good. Okay? Dude, Jim Gaffigan would not.
Yeah, that's not true. Like Carlos Mencia wasn't good, but he became popular.
No, Carlos Mencia, he stole jokes and delivered them very well. Okay, like you can't. And he was speaking to a very specific audience who made him popular. Just like you said before, like he was really the only one addressing that audience, and they made him famous. Okay, so in that audience, he was that funny. You know, like, I'm just saying, things become popular because they're good, at least for the audience they're in.
No, I agree with that, but then there's also some things that are good that don't become popular. And Brian, I thought Brian Regan was a household, I thought people knew who Brian Regan was, but I guess not.
I've never heard him. I'm sorry.
You should look him up, because he's hilarious. I'm just saying that as like, a friend to a friend, you should look him up.
Like, so just to continue with my, and thank you for the recommendation, just to continue with my point there, like there's these people who hate on Lady Gaga. Well, there's a reason why, you know, Lady Gaga is legitimately a household name now. The best in any field will float to the top. And something as popular and universal as music, she has floated to the top of popularity, and it's because she's that good. Not that many people who are just not good at music get to Lady Gaga level of success and fame and popularity. Things are top 40 hits because a huge majority of people agree that they're good. So I guess that's sort of my point there.
What about people that don't want to be big? Like, what if Brian Regan never wanted to become like super famous? Maybe he just wants to just travel the world and just do like headlining sets on the weekend.
That's awesome. Go for it. I'm just saying he
can still be good though. Like you're saying that a person.
But you can't be the greatest. Okay, part of being the greatest is being able to meet expectations that are set for you by other people. And if you're not popular enough to have huge number of people set those massive expectations for you to meet, you can't be considered the greatest. Why is Michael Jordan considered the greatest? He didn't have the most points of anyone in the NBA history. He didn't have the most assists, the most rebounds or anything. He's considered the greatest because every time people set these expectations of, he has to win a championship, he went out there and did. He's got a flu, he still goes out there and does it. Okay? He's not number one in all the stats. Okay, he's the greatest because every time a huge number of people expected him to do something, he met or exceeded that mark. Now, if you just want to go play basketball in Turkey for your whole career, that's awesome. Go do that. Go do your thing. Be awesome at basketball in Turkey. But realize you're never going to be in the Michael Jordan conversation.
That doesn't translate to music or comedy or anything.
Sure it does.
When you go to play a basketball game, the team with the most points wins the game. I mean, there's no way to quantify who is the funniest. I mean, if you're judging it just by
album
success,
sales, yes,
right? So you're saying that the person with the most album sales of all time clearly has to be the best artist then by that.
No, I'm saying, just like I said, Michael Jordan doesn't have the most points, he doesn't have the most assists. Stats are a quantifiable measure, but they are not the measuring stick. The measuring stick for greatest is the way you met the expectations that were set for you. And if you intentionally put yourself in a position where those expectations cannot be set for you, then you can't be in the greatest, and it can't be in the conversation as the greatest in your field.
I mean, who cares?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not talking about the greatest. I'm talking about good. Like, he's good.
No. And this was in response. You were saying that there were people commenting that he's the funniest man alive, and I was just saying that he's the fact that I hadn't heard of him is enough reason to sort of say Gaffigan, who all of us have heard about, is at least on a higher rung of the ladder.
Well, I like Brian Regan better.
And that's a perfectly valid opinion, yada yada yada,
I think Gaffigan's a dick now.
You know what? I think you're being very rude.
Yeah, but even if he is a dick, that doesn't affect how funny he is.
That's true, it doesn't. When I watch him now, it'd be different if he had some edgier comedy or something, the fact that he comes out and he's all nice and he's doing the voice and all that stuff, and then I know he throws mic stands in Dallas. I don't know, it just doesn't jive for me.
Maybe they shouldn't have kept him waiting like that, a man of his stature.
Well, that's apparently not. He tells Hot Pocket jokes, for God's sakes.
Okay.
Don't keep the man waiting 20 minutes. He's only got 2.5.
I wrote the best Hot Pocket joke that man has ever known. Not make him wait.
Okay.
And that goes back to the projecting thing, the cleanest comics might be the biggest dicks, like Bill Cosby.
You think he beats his wife? Not
Bill Cosby?
Jim.
I'm sure he's hit her once, smacked her around at least once.
How often do you think Barack Obama gets laid?
How many times does he fuck Michelle, or does he cheat?
A week,
no,
let's say.
I don't get the John Kennedy vibe off Obama. I think he's probably pretty faithful.
Obama doesn't look like he has any game.
Okay, but I mean, how many times do you think he gets laid in a week?
I don't know. I mean, that's not a question I've thought about.
Davis, you got a number?
I think 3 times a week. And I think that is, 2 of those times it's Michelle, initiating, and then one of those where, Obama's just all mad and aggressive because some shit John Bonner did.
You think it's a mad fuck when he brings it up?
Yeah.
I was gonna say he walks in and it's sort of like, hey, did you see the news about Cuba today, girl? Like a good, maybe not, I don't know.
You think Michelle initiates? I think that's an interesting perspective.
I think when those two are standing next to each other, she definitely puts off the in control vibe.
Oh, she's wearing the pants for sure.
The creepiest thing about Obama is that nothing's come out about him cheating. I feel like he'd be the kind of guy to cheat.
I have the exact opposite. Like, I get the opposite vibes. He seems like... I think part of the reason why President Obama has been so completely ineffective is that, he has good dude vibes. Like, just, he...
Yeah, but so did Bill Clinton, and he got a lot of side pussy.
No, Bill Clinton didn't.
That's a good point.
No. Bill Clinton did not put off good dude vibes. Bill Clinton put off, dude you like to party with vibes.
That's a good dude. He didn't seem like he'd be... No.
Okay, let me clarify. Barack Obama seems like the person who it'd be really cool to have him be like your neighbor, but like across the street down a house. Like he keeps his lawn mowed. He waves every time he sees you.
Yeah, you nice chat at the mailbox, but you're going to Bill's house for the eggnog party.
Yeah, but you have a barbecue, and he brings way more food than he eats. He just has good vibes.
Obama is that way? I think Bill Clinton would be that way. Like I think if there was a fight, I would want Bill Clinton behind my back more than Obama.
Oh hell yeah.
Like for a wingman, I would definitely want Bill Clinton.
Yeah, to use the same analogy as before, I think Bill Clinton would also be like a good neighbor, keep his lawn mowed, chat at the mailbox, but you invite him over with a barbecue, and he's gonna hit on your wife.
Yeah, he'd get you drunk and grab your wife's ass.
Yeah, he's true.
How do you know? But I would think he'd be the kind of guy where like your wife would want to fuck him, and then you would just be like, Bill, come on, dude, and Bill would be like, don't worry about it, man, I got you.
I think you're projecting now, like your own.
I just feel like Bill Clinton is like a good dude.
He just doesn't seem like the type of guy that can help himself.
Obama looks like too much of a narcissist to me. Like he seems like he's too full of himself. Like he seems like cold and calculating. Bill Clinton seems like a good Southern man with a good heart.
Bad heart, actually. If we're talking health.
He's no Cheney.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, he does still have a heartbeat, as far as I know.
I kind of want Hillary to win the presidency just to see how much pussy Bill gets on the side, because he's off the leash. Then you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. There's no better man to be the first man. You know?
Yeah. And like the only reason she ever stayed with him is so she could be president. So she got what she wanted. Now
that's true. We owe it to her as a country at this point.
Right, and Chelsea's old enough to where like she gets it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's not going to blame him now. She's got a kid of her own.
Yeah, she knows. She knows what's up.
Yeah. He'll get so much, and he'll be so good at it too. He can just like show up at random bars in the Midwest, and he'll just be like, "Man, it's so hard. Hillary has no time for me." And then these girls with low self-esteem will be like, "Oh, Bill, you're such a good guy." And then he'll just lay the pipe. I want to see a reality TV show about Bill.
Yeah, that would be so great.
And just banging girls.
It's like it's like the Bill Clinton version of a Flavor of Love.
Yeah, like when Hillary was overseas, like doing peace in the Middle East and shit, Bill was, getting some side. Did you see the picture of him with porn stars?
No.
Yes.
Which ones was he with?
Oh man, I gotta Google it. I'll Google it right now. But he was he was in a picture with porn stars. I don't know if he was doing that on purpose or they like snuck in with him.
Oh, I
he wasn't pushing him away, that's for sure.
Bill Clinton poses with porn stars, March 24th, 2014.
Oh, so this was a long time ago in media years.
Yeah, I'm sure he's completely different now. He's completely given it up.
Well, he is vegan now,
What?
Yeah.
All respect, gone.
Okay, Tasha Rain and Brooklyn Lee.
Yeah, those mean nothing to me.
Brooklyn Lee won the coveted award for Best Starlet at the 2012 AVN Awards. She shared 4 other awards, including Most Outrageous Sex Scene.
Yeah, like, is there anything more contrived and silly as the AVN Awards?
What's wrong with it?
Okay, so
it's just funny that they take it seriously. Like, what porn star is like, oh my god, I've got the most outrageous sex scene. I'm so proud of myself.
And did they go into the scenes thinking, like, this is gonna win an award, I'm gonna suck the fuck out of this dick?
Do porn stars do they even know what movies they're in? Do they even
yeah, don't they just kind of throw a bunch of scenes together for the video releases and stuff?
Like, I bet if you went to, like, a porn star and were like, hey, were you in Big Wet Pussies 58? She'd be like, I don't know, maybe.
I hope that's a real video I could find. Big Wet Pussies.
Is there an IMDb for this stuff?
There has to be. No, there is.
Really? So, what I mean with who won, what do they call it, Starlet of the Year last year?
I don't know.
Like, it seems to me like that has to be an award in which it's just, whichever studio paid the most money and wants to sell a bunch of DVDs, they just sort of buy that award.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, it cannot possibly have real artistic integrity.
Yeah, like there's no way a bunch of people in the porn industry have decided to set up a non-biased voting panel.
Like, I wonder if there's anybody that got really mad because they didn't win the award. It's like, that shit is corrupt. That is rigged. I had the best anal scene by far. Like, she wasn't even moaning like me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Shit for 2 weeks.
There's a post-game show in which they're like, wow, we really think that Lisa Ann got snubbed.
I think they do. They take it seriously.
No, they take it seriously, but it's all the awards are bought.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna do some research.
It'd be funny if it came out as an expose on 2020. Guess what? The porn scene is corrupt.
Yeah. Shocking allegations in the porn community.
You know what I think is hilarious?
Perhaps they were faking it.
They weren't really in love. He wasn't really delivering pizza to her house. Can you believe it? America has been lied to. She wasn't just standing on the side of the street when the Bang Bros bus rode by.
No, the Bang Bros bus is for real. Come on now.
Turns out the point of view was from the camera guy standing behind the actor.
Is there anything worse than point of view porn where the dude is making more noise than the chick that he's fucking?
Oh.
Yeah, I've never been able to get into that.
That's the worst thing in the world. Like, it starts up, you're like, oh, she's hot, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm gonna eat your pussy, bitch. Just super loud. It's all you hear.
No, the worst. The worst is when they do the camera angle of doggy style, but it's from like behind the dude.
Just his ass.
Yes.
Who the fuck has that angle?
There's a Bill Hicks bit about that. There's a stand-up bit about that where he'd be like, I'm watching porn, the last thing I want to see is the hairy bobbing man ass.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You.
Wow. So, okay, while Matthew pulls up our Millard Fillmore fun fact of the week.
Oh, okay.
You sound, it's not like you didn't know it was coming. We do it
Millard,
every week.
I feel like we're running out of facts, man. We've educated this country so much about this great man.
The man had 4 years of leadership. You're telling me in 2 weeks we've run out of fun facts?
Oh, it's been more than that. I'm going for it. You.
Mr. Zayvan, who, in your opinion, is your favorite president that the United States ever had?
Probably Andrew Jackson.
Really?
Andrew Jackson did a lot of crazy shit.
He, liked to veto a bunch, he killed a bunch of Indians, he, first president to openly defy the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I think there was a time when, he was a judge, and then somebody in his court was acting up, and then after the court proceedings were over, he just went outside and shot the guy.
Yeah, that sounds legal.
Hey, back then it might have been. It was the Wild West.
Yeah, any thoughts about Millard Fillmore before we enlighten you a bit more with some fun facts?
Honestly, I'm not super familiar with his work. I think he was the 7th president, I believe.
Fillmore?
No, he was the 13th president. I just Googled him. The last Whig president.
Yeah. Andrew Jackson was the 7th president, dude.
I just trade my favorite president.
We've done this experiment on the show before. Because I know way too much stuff about stupid things, I know all the presidents. And I also know most of their vice presidents, but with Millard Fillmore, we firmly believe that he is the greatest president this country has ever had. He beat out Ronald Reagan for that spot.
It was a tough call, really.
It was a tough call, but Mr. Fillmore took the cake, and Matthew's about to tell us one of the reasons why.
Because he unsuccessfully ran as part of the Know Nothing Party in 1856.
Exactly. Which
was an anti-immigrant, anti-Catholic party. They nominated him to run in 1856, and he only won the electoral votes from the state of Maryland.
See, he had so much conviction, he was able to, as a member of a third, or at that time a fourth party.
With a dumbass name.
Well, I think it might have been more relevant at the time.
Yeah, because back then...
How do you spin Know Nothing to be positive?
I'm not sure the context in which you're looking at this in retrospect. Okay.
Words meetings evolve over time. Back then, nothing meant everything.
See, you're being very hateful right now. I think that Fillmore had the conviction to run as a fourth party candidate in an election which he knew he wasn't going to win, and he still took electoral votes. I think that shows his conviction and his character.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
So that was our Fillmore fun fact of the week, and just another reason why we believe that Millard Fillmore is the greatest U.S. president of all time.
I just looked up his Wikipedia, and it said that he ran for the Know Nothing movement, which was anti-Catholic, even though he himself was not anti-Catholic. So basically, he was just like, well, I don't have a problem with Catholics really, but I'll join this movement that wants to make their life a living hell anyway.
Well,
that's like even worse than hating Catholics.
No, see,
just join a movement.
He knew how to win a presidency, or apparently not, but he knew how to try.
No, he won. He won at least once.
He didn't win any election.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. No, well, okay, he was on the ballot as vice president.
Okay.
Oh, he didn't win the election when he became president?
No, all the great ones didn't.
No,
what happened? The guy was he the guy that William Harrison died? Is that who was the president?
President Taylor.
Oh, what happened to him?
He died.
Yeah, he had a respiratory problem, right? Couldn't breathe.
Something like that.
Yeah, and really what it is that he couldn't handle the immense pressures of the job. And Fillmore was able to step in and did it so well that just like any good politician, he was unable to win re-election.
Right.
God struck him down because he knew that America needed Millard Fillmore. But the American people were too stupid to elect him, so he had to put him in office some other way.
I mean, they elected him. He was on the ballot as vice president.
But I mean, elect him as president.
I don't pretend to know what God's doing, but clearly wasn't it was you know what it was? It was a Catholic job, Catholic God that prevented him from winning. That's why he was a know nothing.
Oh, you think he became enemies with the Catholics to fight God?
Yes. Him and the Pope just did not get along.
I heard the Pope fucked his wife.
Yeah, apparently a lot of popes have been doing that. This Pope Francis dude, he puts off good dude vibes, right?
He does. I mean, he doesn't not by looking at him.
Yeah, he looks kind of like a creepy old man.
He looks scared. It's the outfit. They really that needs to go with the next Pope. You know what I mean? They need to bring in like a new campaign. You know what I mean?
But you know
What
that
should you wear though?
You know what?
jeans.
Yeah, just outfit them in a Gap catalog. Just pick shit out. I think that would go over a lot better.
Like he's really like trying to bring Catholicism back to, hey, be nice to people. And let's get rid of all these priests who A, molest kids, and B, collect money.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are fans of that.
Well, he's like, there's a lot of people in positions of power, and he's fighting them. Did you see the thing he did today, where he just like talked mad shit to the whatever the group of people that under him? He said they have spiritual Alzheimer's. He said a lot of like fucked up things about the Catholics that are in power now.
Oh,
which
yeah.
includes him.
Hey, he wasn't talking about himself.
I mean, but they elected him Pope.
That's a good point. Yeah, criticizing the people that brought him into power.
Yeah. Can you impeach a Pope?
Listen.
Like I wonder, like, can you be like, man, turns out this Pope has kids. Let's get rid of him. Or is it like, yeah, it's like the Supreme Court. Like, you put him there, he's there for life. Unless he's like the last guy and just sort of quits.
Well, the Pope is supposed to be infallible, right? So how would you be able to? I mean, if he's infallible.
Yeah, you're kind of backing down on your own system if you try and pull him out.
Like
he'll just be like, those aren't kids. Those aren't my kids. I'm infallible. I can say that they're not.
Yeah, like I know there's been popes before that have been like married to like multiple women and have had kids. As my microphone falls down. Okay, yeah, that's it. Like, why wouldn't the precedent hold over? Like, why can't the Pope be married now?
Well, that's like the dumbest thing about priests right now is there's no real reason why they shouldn't be married. And part of the reason that they're doing all this child molestation is because they can't be married. Like, they can't get any pussy.
Wait.
It's like not healthy.
Wait, hold on. Not being able to get laid does not turn you into a child molester.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. So, I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but, like, obviously it's bad to just go your whole life without ever doing it. And also, they can't masturbate either, which is, how do you...
Who's checking up on that non-masturbation pact that they make?
Well, I mean,
I think they're on the honor system.
You're not gonna masturbate. If you're gonna be a priest and you're gonna masturbate, you might as well have sex too. Like, why would you? If you're gonna break the rules, might as well enjoy yourself.
It's a lot easier to hide beating off than having sex.
Are priests, are they the market for all that nun porn that's out there?
Oh, I bet, because who was actually watching that otherwise?
Like that seems like of all the like weird things you can be into, that seems like like, of all the, like, non-violent, non-animal things, that seems like the weirdest.
Nun porn?
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of guys that went to Catholic school that are probably into that.
That's true.
They got, like, whipped by a nun when they were 6.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'd buy into that. Even then, that's weird.
Or there might have been a lot of, like, poor starving kids in India. They've always wanted to fuck Mother Teresa, but they never could. So now they just beat off to nun porn.
Yeah, that Mother Teresa, she was quite the sex symbol of her day.
Hey, if you had been starving and she was the only person that brought you food, you might get turned on by her.
Right?
That's a good point.
I finally have enough nutrition to have the energy for an erection.
Yeah, it's like I didn't even know my dick could do this. Like, why is my dick hard? What is this for?
Well, I mean, there's like 1 billion of them. I think they know what it's for.
Well.
Oh man, she never looked good. I'm looking at young Mother Teresa pictures.
Like you know who aged terribly? The Queen. Queen Elizabeth was hot back in the day.
Was she?
Dude, look. Okay,
she was hot. How She's like 90 something now. What do you expect her to look like?
No, I'm saying for someone who's 90, who used to look like she used to look like, she did not age well.
She always has looked like a reptile. What are you talking about?
No. Dude,
she looked good when she was young, but she's 90 now. Like, there's no hot 90-year-olds. I can't imagine what you think she should look like.
No, I'm not saying she should be hot. I'm just saying that she didn't. I'm saying that she's 90 and looks 110.
Oh.
Okay, like she's not. There's a way that hot women age. She did not do that.
Would you still smash though?
Oh, the Queen? Of course.
Yeah. Just you would have to just for the story, right?
Oh, dude, with zero hesitation. Do you know how many downloads our show would get if I could tell the story of how I smashed the Queen?
That's funny if that's the only reason you did it. Just, I got the MaD Bros podcast. I need views.
Right. I would have like some blurry cell phone footage and instead of like putting little censor bars, it'd be our logo.
Yeah. And you do like the World Star thing, but just MaD Bros.
Yeah, there'd be a big watermark on it.
Yeah, like you whispered in her ear. She's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Don't worry, I just need this in the video."
What if she died during? I guess we'd still get the publicity, but you would probably.
Oh, dude, if you fuck the Queen to death, that would even be better.
Yeah, I mean, who's?
Dude, you would be in every history book.
How would they phrase that in like in the third grade history lesson? No,
they would just say that she passed away from like cardiac arrest, and she was known to have she had an affair with this young gentleman who happens to be a billionaire from selling the video.
Yeah, they leave that part out.
Yeah, they leave that part out. But
yeah, they would like try to make it sound classy. It would be like, she fell in love with a young man with a wildly popular podcast, and she died in his arms as they made sweet love.
Right? Isn't that why they killed Princess Diana? It's because she was banging some Arab dude.
Yeah, she was banging one of my people. We were finally getting some notoriety.
Like, okay, I don't mean for this to sound insulting at all, but as a white person with a receding hairline, the Arabs are really taking over that demographic. Like,
which demographic?
The receding hairline male. Like there is no shame in the Arab community. Like they will let that hair fall out like it's nothing. Like there's not that many shaved head Arabs.
Well, the thing is, it's like I don't want to speak for them as us, but we're just so hairy that not having hair on it's like not a big deal. It's like we're glad to like be losing it a little bit. Like we have too much hair.
Finally, I have something to tan. Go ahead.
What?
Oh, it sounded like you were gonna say something. We're trying to do a show here. Talk.
It was a muffled laugh at your. You said finally something to tan.
Okay, let's not recap my terrible jokes.
Come on now. I just thought we could bring it back up.
So you went to
saying, look, the point I was making is, Arab people have so much hair that not having hair on your head, it's not looked down on. It's like it's the one thing we have a lot of.
They should just shave the rest of it though. Arabs look cool as hell without hair.
Yeah, like they all look like it's just that skin tone, and they look like they're assassins.
Well, that's a good point.
They don't know what they're doing. They can be like serving you at McDonald's, and like you have an Arab with a shaved head, and it's like, oh, you're going to poison that. You're going to kill it.
I'm glad you brought that up because how many Arabs have you seen employed at a McDonald's before?
Maybe that's why you never see them there, because they poison your hamburgers.
Yeah.
Their heads are shaved.
Full circle.
So at my campus, we used to have a McDonald's, and we had a big influx of Indian students, and that shit had to go. They replaced it with because the Indians find the fact that there's basically a beef factory on campus so offensive, they replaced it with a Chick-fil-A.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they were offended, or because they just didn't go there and it went out of business?
They just really liked
They straight up protested. They wanted the McDonald's gone because they served beef.
That's fucking fucked up.
Yeah, and now there's a Chick-fil-A, and then they replaced the one next to it, whatever that was, with like a Subway that's not allowed to have roast beef.
No, they banned the roast beef there.
I don't know if they banned it. I know they don't have it.
Well, that's okay.
Here's a funny story. So when I moved into my dorm with my college roommate, it was a guy that I'd gone to high school with, so I'd known him. And one day, after we'd been living together for a couple of weeks, he was like, "Man, I'm surprised you don't smell like curry. Like, I'm glad you don't smell like curry." and I was like, "Why would you think I smelled like curry?" And he goes, "Well, my grandma, who owns a convenience store in rural Virginia, so she's a white redneck racist. She goes, my grandma told me that Indians eat a lot of curry. Oh, no. She was like, my grandma told me that your people eat a lot of curry, and that shit comes out of your pores, so you guys just always smell like curry. So when I moved in with you, I was worried that you would always be smelling like curry and make my room smell like curry too. So I'm glad you don't." And I was like, "Well, thank you. I don't smell like curry. I don't even eat curry. Like my particular people from where I am don't eat curry. So don't worry about it." So, but I just thought he was being racist, and I thought his grandma was being racist. Then when I was in law school, there were a lot of Indian kids that went to the business school, and we would go to the business
school.
And they smelled like curry.
Yeah,
I was like, she wasn't being racist. She was just being true. Like, these people do smell like curry. Like, it comes out of your pores. You sweat it out.
Yeah, like, that's very real. Like, I think, in, the other one is the, like, all Chinese people smell like cigarettes. All of them.
Is that true?
I don't know about that.
In my experience, I go to a university that's like 50% Chinese, 30% Indian, and then the rest is American nationality, not racial makeup, because even in the American section, it's half Indian.
A lot of imports.
Yeah, it's like half the school is like people who are like actually from China. And they all smoke, like chimneys.
That's interesting.
Chinese people don't get lung cancer.
Well, see, they can't really do a controlled study for the tobacco because of all the smog.
No, that's true. Yeah.
It's like
maybe they're just so used to breathing in smog that they're trying to recreate their home country by smoking cigarettes.
Right.
It's a little slice of home in every cigarette.
Yeah, they don't like cigarettes. They just need like toxic chemicals in their lungs.
Well, no, back in China, it's actually like more healthy to breathe in tobacco than the smog.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're
better than the air.
Dude, when I was in LA, this guy at my law firm, his dog died, and then when they did an autopsy on the dog's lungs were black, and he was like, "Why are my dog's lungs black? He doesn't smoke cigarettes." And they're like, "That's just LA air."
Wow.
Like that bad. That just a regular dog that doesn't smoke cigarettes had black lungs.
A regular dog that doesn't smoke.
I wonder what the withdrawals are like for a dog when he's coming off cigarettes. He's real.
Yeah, I always feel bad. I always feel bad for people that give drugs to dogs, because I'm like, what if you're getting your dog hooked on drugs? And like he doesn't know that he's hooked on it. He's just like, man, why am I not high anymore? How can I get high again?
That's why they eat their own poop. They're trying to get it back in.
Yeah, they're like, well, maybe it was something I ate that made me high. And another thing I've always wondered, and I don't want to sound like I'm doing material, but one thing I've always wondered is, like, how do drug sniffing dogs know to look for drugs? Like, do they get? I
think they're trained.
High, like, and they're like, hey, you can have this feeling again. You just got to find it.
Well, I think they do it like positive reinforcement, like they put a bunch of things in front of them and they sniff the right drug, they get the treat or something like that. Like I think that's trained into them that when I say this is when you start smelling, and when you smell this, you get this.
Yeah, but what's a better treat than the actual drugs itself?
I don't know, is cocaine awesome for a canine? Like, I think, I don't know, the dog I have, like, if you just, like, rub his back, that's better than anything. He just freaks out, like.
But have you tried giving him cocaine?
Have you compared the two? Have you rubbed his back on cocaine?
Right, just gotta combine the two. So the weird one is bomb sniffing dogs, right? Like that dog doesn't know. It's
just training, right?
Yeah, same thing as, but like, you think you're trained. Okay, so like, put yourself in the position of the trainer. Like, you were training this dog to, maybe get blown up. Like, you're teaching this dog really well how to be right in the area when something blows up.
Well, I mean, it's better than the dogs than people.
They're not just dogs. Jeez, you Michael Vick motherfucker. Ugh. Yeah, Atlanta.
But still,
wait. We're completely changing topics now. You're from Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, Michael Vick, please tell me he's universally hated there.
Who's universally hated?
Michael Vick?
Michael Vick?
Yeah.
I don't know how people in Atlanta feel about him. I think a lot of people like him because he would play for the Falcons for a while.
Oh, I don't have that much hair left. I need to pull it out. Michael Vick is the worst. You know what? Maybe saying Jim Gaffigan's the funniest person alive was a slight amount of hyperbole. I think Michael Vick is the worst human on earth.
Because of the dogfighting thing?
If you read his confession, he admitted to hooking dogs up to battery cables and electroshocking them for fun and hanging them. There wasn't just dog fighting. There was explicit animal torture.
Aside from the dog fighting?
Yeah. It's not that long. It's a 2-page confession. You can read it. He details all this extreme torture that he did. It's that's not. Oh, they're just dogs, and you're making a living fighting them. There's actual sadism involved.
I didn't know about that. I mean, I know the whole thing is sadistic.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did torture just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, the NFL's marketing was awesome on that. They spun that into they're just dogs thing so well. But I mean, the actual situation of that case was that Michael Vick was a monster. Is a monster. And he donates to the SPCA or whatever. Who cares? Okay, he killed more dogs than he is helping with his $50 donation. Screw that guy.
You think so? You don't believe he should get a second chance?
I think his second chance is not being in prison. It's not getting to play in the NFL for millions and millions of dollars.
Okay. But he's so good though. How can you deny?
No, he's not. He's riding the bench in New York, isn't he?
He's on the bench? I thought he started.
Okay. Is New York any good?
I have no idea. I haven't been keeping up. I always thought Michael Vick was good. I thought he was better after he got out of prison. Cause I guess he learned his lesson or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think praise Fillmore. He did not get any Super Bowl rings before or after prison. And again, his second chance is not being in prison. Okay? The NFL should not be allowing people who've done prison time. That includes, I'm a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Josh Brent should not be allowed to put on a uniform. Okay? He went to prison. He killed a teammate in a drunk driving accident. Okay? He went to prison for that. And he, suited up. He's playing now.
Well, I mean, a lot of those guys...
Dwayne Stokely. Ray Lewis killed 2 or 3 people and got away with
that
it.
That guy should be playing.
Like Ray Lewis straight up killed people.
Well, he probably deserved it. I mean, why would you be fucking with Ray Lewis?
Right? It was a triple homicide. Yeah, like, whatever. The NFL is, and they're indignant about Ray Rice, okay? All he did was defend himself, okay? We've all seen the video. She clearly assaulted him, and he was defending himself.
There's a comedian in Atlanta, Tom Simmons, who's got a great bit about that, where he's like, we don't know what they were saying to each other in that elevator. She might have been like daring him, she might have been like asking him to try to test out maybe she was asking him to help her train for a boxing match. I'm not doing justice to his bit, but we don't know what was going on in that elevator. Maybe.
Well, we do know that she spit on him, and in most places, including Las Vegas, spitting on someone is assault. Okay, so she committed an assault against him, and he defended himself per the letter of the law in Nevada, which is why no charges were pressed, or the charges were dropped when the police saw the video. You know, he defended himself. And in the NFL, it's just indignant. Oh, we're gonna ban him for life.
Well, I mean, I agree that the way that the NFL handled it was terrible because everybody knew what happened in that elevator. Like, that second video didn't change anything. Like, the only reason they banned him is because that second video so explicitly showed him punching her. But it's like, the video they had before was
dragging her unconscious body out of an elevator.
What did they think had happened?
Oh, she was just that turned up that she got turned off.
Yeah, like, she walks in, that, like, there was a video that shows her walking in the elevator, fine as day, and then she's dragging her dead body out. Like, what do you think happened?
I haven't seen the video, but how does it compare to the Jay-Z elevator video?
Oh, he levels her. Like, it's some ridiculous, she spits on him and lunges at him, and he just with one punch just puts her out cold on the ground.
So pretty much the opposite of the Jay-Z video.
It was just one hit. It wasn't like Jay-Z where it was like she was battling him. It was just one hit, knockout.
No, Jay-Z never hit back, for the record here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He took it like a boss.
Yeah, he was like, I know there's cameras. I know about Ray Rice.
Yeah. Wait, did his come out after this
yes,
other one here?
Yes.
Oh, so he knew what was up. That's probably why she chose to do it in an elevator.
Right. And dude, that bodyguard was slacking, and then she started hitting him, and he moved in quick too.
The whole thing is just so great.
Like he's getting in an elevator with his sister-in-law.
Yeah, and his sister.
And the bodyguard knows to come with.
Well, Beyonce was there too. You know, it was all of them.
Right, like, you know the type of, like, that dude earned his money, right? Like, because if she had just kept hitting him, Jay-Z would have been forced to do something where no matter what, he would have been the bad guy, right?
Definitely.
Like that bodyguard was, being real casual, giving him the space, and suddenly he's there, he's pulling her off, and Jay-Z's like, yep, still get to be a billionaire. No lawsuit.
Yeah, that's what I pay you for, buddy.
Yeah, like, there's no way he did not get a raise when that video, probably, like, when it just happened, it was like, yeah, that's what I pay you for. When that video came out and it became so obvious that, like, oh, he just saved you several $100 million.
Jay-Z's phone is ringing off the hook from other rappers going, where did you get that bodyguard, man?
Yeah, what company do you see from? Yeah, like, where, okay, so, like, those companies that provide, like, that type of bodyguard, where do they find those like, 6'8" bodybuilder black dudes with a shaved head and sunglasses?
I bet a lot of them are...
They breed them, right?
Oh, yeah, it's like Star Wars. It's like episode 2. There's just a cloning factory somewhere where they just keep shooting them out. I think really, though, it's, like, probably, guys that wanted to be professional football players but got injuries in high school and couldn't continue it on or something.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. What is it?
A lot of that is bullshit. Like, they just pick the biggest guys, but those aren't really the best guys to protect you. Like, the best guys to protect you are probably like a regular sized MMA fighter, you know?
Yeah, but I think...
And they're low key too. That's true. That's yeah.
I think a part of it is it's a status thing. You're walking around with 2 7-foot giants as your bodyguards. You know, there's an appearance of that. But the other part is that they're scary. Like there's something about bald black dudes, no matter what size they are, that I'm just more intimidated by them. I know that makes me a racist, but they're just scarier people.
And it probably, and just putting off that intimidation vibe probably negates a lot of people coming up to you that might do it if you just had a regular looking MMA guy.
Yeah, because the MMA guy would kick your ass, but with the big, huge guy, you wouldn't even get to that point. People
exactly.
Like, if you're just walking around and you saw George St. Pierre, like, you're not afraid of, I mean, if you know who he is, you're afraid of him, but you're not, like, gonna, try to avoid eye contact with George St. Pierre, okay? Anderson Silva, however,
I would, definitely.
Do you know what George St. Pierre looks like?
You're just afraid of everybody, like, you know.
Well,
George St. Pierre just looks like some normal dude. With a
like,
really...
BJ Penn looks like a normal guy.
Yeah, and BJ Penn will kill you.
I gotta pull up pictures of these fellas.
Yeah, dude, BJ Penn, he's a way better example than George St. Pierre. Okay, like, you see BJ Penn, you're not gonna be afraid of him. Okay? You see, Anderson Silva, you're afraid of him.
I mean,
Or Czech Congo. Jeez. Dude, pull up Czech Congo, Panda. Matthew. And tell me that's not the scariest man you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's pretty intimidating.
Pretty intimidating, are you?
He's got a friendly face.
This is not a racist statement, but the guy's like build, he resembles a gorilla. Like, he's just so, like, you know how, like, all gorillas have a six-pack?
Right. Oh, I spelled his name wrong in, like, 3 different ways. Now I see him.
Okay, yeah. Now you see him, the big, scary black dude?
But his face is still nice. He's got love in his eyes.
Yeah, no. That dude's a killer. He will murder you.
He's got a nice body.
You know, if I could have bodyguards. Who was that guy that, what was that? Fuck. That MTV obnoxious motherfucker, he's a white guy. Yes. The other, Big, that was his name. Oh, Big, yeah.
Yeah, Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah, but what was the black guy called? What was his name?
Big.
Oh, just Big. Yeah, I would want just 2 of him.
Yeah, it's scary. Like, I don't want my bodyguard to actually have to do anything. I want my bodyguard to stand there.
Yeah, I just look like I'm protected.
Yeah, but at least on the show, which I was more of a fan of Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory than I was of Robin Big.
You would be.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't have cable while Robin Big was a thing, and then I was when Fantasy Factory was. So excuse me. But from what I've seen of Robin Big, like, Big had to do things. Like, there's one where, like, he had to tackle a security guard or something. Like, I wouldn't want my bodyguard to actually do anything.
That's a good point.
Okay, so we have one more topic to get to.
I hope it's the topic I had in mind.
North Korea?
Yes, it was.
Yes, okay. What are your thoughts on the interview, Mr. Zayvan?
Can I go pee real quick? I'll be right back.
Okay, can we listen? That'd be really cool.
My battery on my laptop dies if I unplug it, so otherwise I would take my laptop into the bathroom with me.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, I'll try to do it. I'll try to do it with the bathroom door open, so you might be able to hear it.
All right.
Perfect. Our first on-air peek.
Well, no, we've had several. This is gonna be the first one we can hear.
All right.
Okay. We just heard the seat go up. Okay. Man, he's got a really weak stream. As to be expected with Sam Zayvan, he could not deliver the goods. I can't hear anything.
I got nothing.
Yeah, see, he's just not manly enough to just sort of force it out, you know.
It's just little
just kind of, it's kind of dribbling out, yeah.
Just like some runoff.
I really am embarrassed for the man. He just could cut.
That wasn't a triple. That was a lot.
Well, I'm saying that it was not it wasn't confident enough. Your P didn't carry its voice. It was really like a lot like your stand-up comedy.
Well, I don't
know. Oh, see, of course, Panda drops out the second I'm expecting him to do the courtesy laugh. We're just being friends here. So what are your thoughts on North Korea?
I mean, as a country or about the interview?
The interview.
I think the interview thing is all bullshit. Like, hasn't it been proven to be all bullshit? Like, North Korea never hacked them. I mean, I think it's all a publicity stunt by Sony.
Really? So Sony is releasing a bunch of social securities and emails showing their executives are racist?
I mean,
someone hacked them. Right? Like, someone hacked them.
Maybe not. I mean, think about it. Okay, let's say, put aside the fact that it's a huge movie studio. If you knew you could make $100 million by releasing racist emails, people might do that. Like,
but didn't they, aren't they projected to lose $1 billion off of the interview not coming out, though?
I mean, I guess my whole theory relies on the idea that someday it'll get released and they'll make a lot of money from it.
Yeah, didn't they already say they're going to release it on Crackle?
Is that definitely happening? I saw something about that, but I didn't know if it was just one of those bullshit stories that...
Yeah, I don't know if that's confirmed, but last thing I read was that they're going to release it on Crackle, which is a terrible service, by the way. Like, without it coming out, though, like, they're projected to lose like $1 billion. So it's not like, that's a lot of risk. Like, imagine if those emails became the story and not that movie.
Well, my theory was based on the idea that they would release the movie. But yeah, you're right. If they don't release the movie, they don't make that money, then yeah, but my conspiracy theory doesn't work.
But the movie wouldn't have mattered if the story had become the emails and not the movie being censored. See, like, Sony doesn't control the media. They're not Rupert Murdoch. Okay, they're not Viacom. They took so let's say Sony staged this as marketing. It was very possible that the emails became the big story. And if the emails became the big story, no one would care about the James Flacco movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought about it as much as I thought about it, and you poked a lot of holes in my theory, and I give up.
Yeah, what I love is that,
Can you see where I'm coming from, though? Doesn't it seem like really shady?
No, I'm saying the next time, some studio gets hacked and some movie gets delayed, that's fake. I'm saying this one, the risk reward is too off balance for me to see it as a viable candidate for this was staged. Although I definitely get where you're coming from with that thought.
But I mean, there's never been any evidence that it was done by North Korea.
Well, I mean, there's the... Okay, so...
They denied it. They said it had nothing to do with them.
Well, I mean,
North Korea never denies shit. They take responsibility even when they didn't do anything.
Well, they also deny they're testing nukes. But North Korea has been very outspoken in their opposition to the movie. They sent a letter to the UN. You know, they've openly criticized the fact that America refused to censor the movie.
maybe the conspiracy is America wanted an excuse to fuck with North Korea.
Yeah, like
this whole thing.
Like,
it's like we shut down the internet today.
Yeah. There is no internet in North Korea right now.
My favorite thing about it was when they asked what do they call it, the State Department or whatever, they said, we don't have any news about North Korea today. So they didn't deny it. Nor confirm it.
They asked Eric Holder about it, and he's like, no, we did not shut down the internet in North Korea. Any dude with a laptop and $200 can shut down the internet. like the exact quote was like, it costs like, he said any hacker with $200 and a laptop can shut down the internet.
That's literally what he said?
Yeah. He said $200 and a laptop, which some people ran the math, and yeah, you need one laptop and about $200 to shut down the internet there. Apparently it's not that hard to do.
Have you guys ever been to the website of North Korea?
They have their own website?
The website for the country of North Korea, like the official government website, is terrible. It's like, looks like it was made in 1997 on GeoCities.
Well, I think they might be coding it in Korean, so, I mean,
they might have updated it by now, but, yeah, it looks better now than it used to, but Google, the website is korea-dpr.com.
Haven't they, hasn't it been confirmed that, like, people from the North Korean government are, like, actual moderators on the Pyongyang subreddit?
I think that's probably some Reddit dork trying to sound cool.
No, like, I
highly doubt that.
I remember something about, like, that North Korea is actually involved in that subreddit. I don't know. I don't have the source in front of me. That's a vague memory, but that would be really cool if, like, North Korea is, like, in our push to stay modern, where our official website is going to be a subreddit.
I just went to their website. I've got to say, it looks pretty legit to me.
Well, this is the new version. The old version was terrible. Like,
yeah, the old version of Amazon sucked.
No, I'm saying the old version from like 2010 was terrible. Like, they just now updated it.
Here, I'm gonna...
Do you like computers? Do you like to dance? Do you like crazy rhythm? Do you hate fucking trance? Do you hate pop culture and what it does to your head? Grab a beer, go online, rock with me instead.